Hello everyone and welcome back to boxing lesson number 24. Today's lesson is going to be upon request, and that request is how to get in, what to do, and how to get out. So basically it's how to develop a strategy to enter the exchange, and then exit the exchange. Okay? So we have three parts to this, of course. I just named them: enter, exchange, and exit. Before you enter any exchange, you should always have an exit plan. And we're going to talk about each one individually, and then we'll put it all together as always. Always break down something to its smallest form, and then it's easy to build it up into the macro or the major form. A lot of words being used right now. So the first thing we're going to do is work on our entry, right? Now, entering the exchange, getting closer to the opponent, setting up the exchange. How do we do that? Well, there's a lot of people, first things first they think about is punching. Now, punching is the exchange part, but there's things that you have to do before punching. That's going to be positioning, where you're going to position yourself, feinting, head movement, positioning of your stance, and so on. Okay? So first things first is the entry depends on your height, your reach, and all of your own physical attributes and your style. But I'm going to try to talk about something as general as I can, and we'll go from there. The second thing is not every opponent needs the same thought process of entry. Some opponents are really difficult to get to. Some opponents are really easy to get to, as I talked about in one of our last or previous lessons. So I'm going to talk about the highest form, the most detailed form, and then depending on your opponent, you could take some steps off of this or you could add some steps, but I'm going to talk about the highest form. Okay. Now, first things first is my opponent is I don't want to be still. Okay. So this is something that happens with fighters is they're still and then they try to punch right away. Okay. The first things first is constant movement. This is your basic thing is constant movement. Okay. Constant movement hides when you actually move in, right? If I'm just standing still and then I go to attack, well, the bag can see when I started the attack and it could readjust. If you watch our lesson or our breakdown on the Max Schmeling fight, you'll see how easy it was for him to pick off and calm down his opponent, Mickey Walker, because Mickey Walker would be here, then he'd go like this and then tell his opponent when he was about to attack. Okay, so first things first is hiding your attack, is moving your hands. By moving the hands, there's a slight movement, so your opponent gets used to seeing your hands move. Okay, if your hands are still and your opponent only sees them move when you punch, well, that's a sign that you're about to punch and they might get out the way. So always moving your hand a little bit, moving your head, moving your upper body. Right now, it's harder to see my punch coming out because it's already in movement. Okay, I'm not saying big movement, just little movement. It's mostly like defensive movement, like I'm catching, blocking, and then something comes out of that. Two fighters that are good for this is Sugar Shane Mosley. I just uploaded the highlights of his fight against a guy named Shannon Taylor, and then Mosley's, and then he punches. Another guy is Chris Eubank Sr. He does that a lot, so that's something I like. Riddick Bowe, a lot of Eddie Futch's fighters, they did this too. So movement, okay? That's step number one. I'm talking about more upper body. Now, step number two is footwork, right? Now, I want to get closer to my opponent. How am I going to do that? Well, another thing that fighters do is they step first with their lead foot and they try to step in, right? That's another sign. If you're fighting someone that's experienced, they're watching your lead foot. As soon as I see you step in, I already know what you're about to do. So another way to sneak up on your opponent basically is moving up of the back foot, right? Moving up. Now I'm moving up here. Now, I'm already close enough to attack my opponent just off of that, right? But if I step in like this and I'm too far, I gotta step again, and then I gotta step again. My opponent already saw what I was doing. What I could do is move up the back foot and then step in. Okay? So another trick so I'm moving my hands. As I'm moving my hands, I'm trying to take the eyes away from my feet. I'm moving my back foot, bang, I step in, right? Now, another thing to think about is positioning and your way of entry. You have 3 ways to enter: direct or from the sides, right? Now, a common mistake with fighters when they're trying to learn how to come in on an angle is they do a big angle, pivot, attack, okay? Experienced fighter, they're gonna see that right away. They're gonna get out the way, or they're gonna turn with you, and then they took away all of what you were gonna do. Another way to set up your angle is small steps. If you watch Alexis Arguello, if you watch, I don't know, who's someone else that uses angles? I can't think of any right now. But instead of me going boom, boom, I'm just taking small steps. So I'm moving, taking small steps. Watch my feet as I circle left. Okay, I'm taking so many steps, my opponent doesn't know which step I'm going to step into. Now when I finally get that angle, I could shoot forward. All right? So move around your opponent. Don't just always be here and then shoot in straight, because your opponent they're looking at you and they could see everything about you. So don't just come in straight. Move around the opponent, move, feint with your foot, feint with your head, feint with your hands, moving, step in, step out. Okay, and then you could step in. All right? So move around your opponent. Think of half a circle, move left and right, okay? Until I find that angle, I'm here now. Now I could shoot straight. Okay, there's 2 ways to do this. First, you could do what I just did, which is find the angle, move around the angle, and then shoot in straight. Or you could shoot in straight, then step off, and then attack. That's a little bit more difficult. Finding the angle first and then stepping in is more appropriate, I think. Woo, okay. So that's the other step, is moving around your opponent. Don't just step in. And the third thing I want to say is you're going to have to throw 5 punches to land 1 sometimes. Okay? So you might have done everything right. You might have moved your head, moved your feet. And as you attack, your opponent still sees you. They move back or they engage. But if they move back, you're going to have to commit. You're going to have to commit to the attack. Okay, commitment to the attack is a big thing, because what happens is a lot of fighters, they attack, they miss their first punch, their opponent moves, and then they give up on their attack. Okay, now especially if you're fighting someone that moves back a lot, this is something that you could use against them. But if you don't do this, then they're gonna win over you. But if I'm here and I gotta commit to that attack. And then I could throw my punches, right? But you have to commit. If you miss 2, 3, 4 punches and they're moving back, you have to commit before you could land 1 punch or 2 punches or 3 punches, okay? So commitment to the attack, moving your head and hands before you attack, moving your feet, feinting, doing all of this before you throw a punch. Now, I talked about throwing the punch, which is the attack, but another thing is the attack might miss the first couple punches, so you're going to have to keep going until you hit them. Now, be smart about this. Don't just attack wildly. You're going to get countered. You got to be smart. What I like doing is jabbing the body and the head. Okay, so say I'm far away from my opponent. I'm moving. Right? Okay, I like throwing half punches when I know I'm gonna miss my opponent. I throw half punches just to get my feet up. So basically what that looks like, instead of me going like 1, 2, 3, short punches. And then I throw the full punch. That's when I commit, is when I know I'm gonna land the punch. Before that, I'm not throwing committed punches because I might miss, they might counter. So I'm throwing half punches. You can see it here better, half punches. And I'm using those half punches to sneak up my feet until I'm close enough. So I'm boom, and then start throwing, okay? So that's the third or the fourth step, is if you're far away, throw half punches, don't commit to full punches. There's no reason to, because you know you're gonna miss. So throw half punches, sneak your feet up until you get close to the opponent, now throw, okay? Now, that's kind of the first part of things, which is the entry, right? And like I said, this is gonna be different from fighter to fighter. Some fighters, they're coming to you. You don't have to even do any of this. You just throw punches. Some fighters are defensive. You got to do a lot of things to catch them. So it all depends on your opponent. And that's where your own smarts comes into action, is you reading your opponent and seeing, do I have to do this? Do I not have to do this? Do I have to do something else? Do I want to come in from the right? Do I want to come in from the left? That's all up to you. And that could only come to you by experiencing, sparring different types of fighters and fighting different fighters. And that's how you learn what to do against who, okay? Now, the second thing that the question asked is the exchange. I got close. I threw my punches, right? Now, your punch selection is another thing that's going to come up from experience. I talked a lot about your punch selection from the lesson about combinations. Punch selection, I already talked a lot about that in the combinations lesson, but yeah, I kind of covered everything about the exchange in that lesson, like throwing different areas, throwing the body and head, the right hand and the left uppercut. That's, yeah, I'm not going to get too much into that detail. I want to talk about a little bit more of the exit. Now, depending on what I finish my exchange with, so say I'm punching, I'm going to show you guys different exits, okay? So say I throw my right hand, right? I threw like a 1, 2, hook, right. This is my last right hand. Now we're going to have a lot of ways to exit from the right hand. First things first is I could dip down to my left and let their counter come over my top, right? I don't like really bringing it back because you run the risk of running into the hook. I like throwing the right hand, stepping off to the right, throwing the right hand, rolling and going back, throwing the right hand, blocking, coming back with a hook, okay? Throwing right hand, last week's lesson, shifting over, coming back with another right hand roll to the side, okay? So basically anything I end with the right hand, I'm either going to the right or going back or slipping down to the left. Now, if I finish with the left hook or anything with the left hook except the jab, I could throw the hook, slip to the left, hook, roll under, hook, pivot, okay? So basically, if you finish with the left, either move up or to the left. If you finish with the right, move to the right or back. Now the jab is what I like finishing with the jab a lot sometimes. So like boom, boom, boom. Because the jab, you can go a lot of places. The jab, you can lean back, you can slip left, you can dip down, you can slip right, you can move anywhere after throwing a jab. Okay, so that's why I like sometimes like boom, 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 and then moving my head. Okay, now there's two exits. There's your head movement, and then there's your footwork. Okay, if you want to hit someone and not get hit, you're gonna have to move your head after first. Okay, get your head off center line, move your head. So say boom, boom, and then move your feet. So you could move your head first and then move your feet. Or what you could do is boom, boom, move your feet and your head at the same time. Okay? Now, I call this sticking and moving. This is called sticking and moving, but it's mostly with the jab. You stick the jab and you move. But you want to think of the same idea with your punches. Don't punch and stay there. Punch, move. Now, after your first move, you have two options. You could either punch again or you gotta move again, okay? But don't just go like 1, 2, think you're safe, because your opponent's gonna turn and they're gonna throw a punch. So you either punch first or move and then move again and make them reset, okay? But don't punch and move once and think you're safe. You either gotta punch again or use your jab again or move again and then move and disconnect, okay? Now, this depends on the type of fighter you are. So if you're a tall fighter or you're an in and out fighter, you're gonna wanna punch, get in and out. So boom, boom, find your exit, get out. Or if you're the shorter fighter, you're gonna have to come in, work, right? Find the angle, punch again, find the angle, punch again, right? Now, why, as a shorter fighter, you did so much work of feinting, moving your feet around, moving your head to get into your opponent. A lot of shorter fighters, I used to do this too a lot, they'd land a couple punches and then they jump out. That's the worst exit you could have as a shorter fighter, because now your taller opponent is ready to double jab right hand at you right away and catch you, because you're at their distance now or their range. So what you want to do is punch and stick to your opponent. I know we said exit plan, but this is another type of exit, which is moving your head after or moving your feet and sticking to your opponent and make them turn. This is uncomfortable for a taller fighter because they're not comfortable fighting short range. And that's how you could actually survive more and land more punches on the inside rather than throwing a couple punches and jumping out, okay? So your exit, I'm just giving you guys ideas of what to do, but this is gonna come down to experience. So you have your entryway, you threw your combinations, and now you exited. But there's not really, it's not really 3 steps. Like, you don't really just enter, punch, exit, enter, punch, exit. The round is very mixed up. So you're gonna maybe enter once, punch, move, or your exit, okay? And then punch again here, and then you gotta exchange again. So don't think of it as getting in, punching, and then getting out, unless that's your style. But you wanna learn how to get in, work as long as you can, don't get greedy, but work for a longer time. And then always stay at a range where you could hit and not get hit. Easier said than done. But don't just think like, oh, I'm getting in, throwing my punches, jumping out. A lot of fighters jump out of exchanges after they land a punch or something. You're giving up too much space. You're not confident in your ability to stay close. So that's another step, is learning how to move around the bag, move around your opponent. Learning how to do that and staying close to your opponent and not having to get in and out a lot of the time. Something Roberto Duran was great at. But yeah, don't jump out. That's kind of what I want to talk about today, is the thought process behind entry, punching, and then exiting, okay? This is something, like I always say, you're going to need your experience to learn this. I'm not going to be able to teach you exactly. I'm only here to like give you ideas or some tips on what to do, but I can't tell you exactly how to do it. But use this lesson to better prepare yourself of what you're about to learn or what you're about to go through. And then when you go through it, you could add your own little touches to it and find your own thing. But yeah, entry, exchange, and exit. The most important part is entry. You got to move and make yourself harder to predict when you're going to move in. Punching, and then your exit. Don't stay in front of your opponent after you punch. Right after you punch, don't wait for the counter punch from your opponent. I threw my 3 punches or 4. I slip, I move my head out the way, then I roll, and now I'm either going to punch again or move again, okay? But punch, move your head or move your feet or move both at the same time, but don't punch and stay there, because now you're getting counter punched. You have to move and stay a step ahead of your opponent, okay? So that's what I want to show you guys today. This lesson's a little bit more vague. I try to give as much detail as I can, but I can't really think of anything that requires more detail in this. Please, or even to the guy that asked me this question, if you see this video, and it's not answering all of your questions, please let me know and I'll try to get back to it and explain a little bit more. But yeah, that's the lesson I want to show you guys. Okay? Have a great day as always, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.